within digital into the respite.
Yeah. Are we activating our joint sleigh?
That sounds like a question you ask like your kindergarten class to start class.
How should we activate our joint slate today?
This is the agenda. Slay. Slay. Nap time. Slay. Ooh.
I want it to be like you.
Ooh, that's cute.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah. We're in the respite.
We are.
Look.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Ooh. Look at this palette.
Yeah, it's giving.
This is cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
What a historical event.
You know that meme that everybody kept sharing about like everybody's age today is 2022? Like, did you all see that?
No, I don't think so.
All the Facebook aunties were sharing it. But it was basically this meme that was like, today is the only day that this will ever happen, and everyone's age, if you add it up, is going to be 2022. And then people in the comments were like, it happens every year. Like, you just you just add your year and then your birthday, and then I don't know, some kind of math. And so I was like, dang. But all that to say, this is an actual historical event. That meme was a false.
That meme was a false.
A false event.
Fake news.
Hello, everyone who's joining us. We have a great show for you today.
Exactly. Literally, it was raining today so badly, and I was driving back. I was like, I have to make it before 3.
You gotta make it to the respite.
Enter the respite.
To the respite.
Oh, I didn't even.
Slay.
That's just the, there's like meditation music to like invite you to a space. This is the meditation. Slay.
Meditation slay.
Everyone who's joining us, put your sign in the chat, because today's emojis are each of our sun signs, so I think it could be fun.
So everyone, tell us your zodiac sign so then we can roast you, JK.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're gonna roast you.
It's on site for some of y'all. So
is it Leo season?
It's like ending Leo season in a couple of days, and it's gonna transition into Virgo season.
Ending. Leo season is eternal.
Leo season is
eternal.
Is that an Aquarius?
Yeah, I see the bear and the water bear.
That's cute. Like Aquarians.
Yeah, Aquarians always have to
be extra. No, JK.
Yeah.
I'm glad you.
It's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, Gemini. Gemini writes.
Big Lotto.
Wait, Lotto's a Gemini?
I don't know. I was just there.
Oh, you're just saying.
Yeah.
We need to know.
Big Lotto birth chart.
Big Lotto birth chart. That is our conversation for today. Thank you for joining us.
Chart analysis. Big Lotto.
Oh, she's a Capricorn.
Capricorn? Oh. But also like cuspy. I'm confused. He's from Ohio.
Aw, thank you, Heaven. OMG.
Lotto is from Ohio. What is her real name?
Oh yeah, she was born in Ohio, maybe Columbus, but then moved to Atlanta.
All roads lead back to Ohio. This is perfect.
The Mecca.
The Mecca of the world is Ohio.
You know who else is from Ohio that I didn't realize?
Who?
Mary Oliver.
Oh wow, I keep seeing her name.
She is.
Hmm.
I won't bring out my book, The Bible Devotions by Mary Oliver,
Her.
but she's from Middleburg Heights or Cleveland Heights or something like that.
Oh.
It was like weird.
Everyone has a connection to Ohio.
It is the center of the universe.
I believe you.
Mulatto's real name is Alyssa.
I believe it.
That
Oh, Holly Berry is also from Ohio.
Yes, I did know that. And who else?
Have you ever watched Community? And you know, I forget her name, but she's from Ohio. She's
Yvette.
Yep.
With Mo's mom.
Yep.
She was friends with Mo's mom.
They went to school together. Ohio, this is Ohio. This is the world, okay? Ohio, the world. Soon enough.
Yeah, that's why we have so many Ohio memes. It's like an unescapable topic.
In the beginning, there was Ohio.
And then at the end, there was also Ohio.
That's
all the books that are like about apocalyptic events and stuff. It's like it's because the whole nation turned into Ohio.
True.
It's like a hole.
You said what?
I said it's like a black hole.
Yeah.
It will consume the earth. Beautiful.
True. I'm trying to think who else is from Ohio. We should just like start a running list, actually. Of
Yeah,
everyone
just
who's
make a
from
Google
Ohio.
document of like everyone born who was famous in Ohio. Ohio celebrities.
Yeah, I think that's actually an offering.
Toni Morrison, a legendary
Classic.
platform.
Classic. Lorraine.
Thank you, fake Tay Diggs.
Thank you, fake Tay Diggs.
Tay Diggs is very funny.
LeBron. Russell Wilson's from Ohio. Guy Fieri's from Ohio.
Oh, I didn't know Guy Fieri.
Anita Baker's from Ohio.
Gabrielle Dennis is from Cincinnati.
Period. Steven Spielberg's from Ohio.
No way. Unbelievable.
Oh,
Cincinnati.
no way. How long did he live here?
He's from Columbus?
He's from Columbus?
Steven E.T. Spielberg?
E.T.
Wow.
Y'all remember when people used to have their Facebook names be like, so-and-so the baddest?
Yes.
I never had one of those because I, grandparents, but
yeah.
What would yours be today? If
I'm gonna have to think on that.
the baddest ever breathe
Who
the
ever exists in Ohio?
or
Allison ever exists in Ohio.
Halle Berry is low-key top tier though. So it's just like,
this is amazing. This is amazing. I'm like LeBron James. Oh my God. Who knew?
I know. LeBron James is the king of Ohio.
He started this.
Low-key.
His birth.
Missing him, thinking of him. Good morning to him.
So it's time for us to begin. I think y'all who are here, we're ready to. This is the podcast, There are all those other podcasts.
The trilogy.
Illuminati alert. But okay, so welcome to Within, y'all. Welcome to the respite. If you didn't know, Within Digital is a digital respite engaging Black creatives, artists, the art curious, in conversations about art, the creative process, and being Black on the internet in the 21st century. So yeah, thank you for being here. We're excited to chit chat today.
For those who aren't familiar, you can refer to Within Digital as the, como se dice, opus of the respite, where you can find articles, pictures, visuals, past interviews, links to chats, YouTube things, links to our podcast. Um, you can see our past Midwest connections with Daryl D'Angelo Terrell, the lens-based artist from Detroit. Yeah, slay.
Slay. And importantly for this conversation, we do have some digital boundaries. This is for Black thotties, hotties only. Non-Black people, you have to hush, period. As well, again, archives will be accessible on our Instagram, our website, and the tubular, the YouTube. No phobias will be allowed. You will be blocked. You will be kicked out. We will beat you up. No phobia of any kind can exist except for the ones that involve insects.
Mm.
As well, if you have any questions, you can DM the Instagram or you can email us at wearewithindigital@gmail.com. And as well, for solidarity, please use the emojis, which today is your zodiac sign, to show appreciation. And that way we can see that you're paying attention, but as well, don't send any hate emojis. We won't like that. So that is what we're doing today.
That's what we're on today. Period, Reg. Now we're for those of you who don't know, I'm Bree. I exist at the nexus of irony and the intuitive. I'm an artist, a curator, and a writer currently based in Cleveland, Ohio, and presently a fellow at Zygote Press. I'm creating work that exists as a portal of sexuality, desire, and Black dynamism. I'm passionate about humor, pop culture, and green things.
Nice. And I'm Candace. I am an art director, photographer, and poet based in Washington, D.C., but I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and so I am rocking the warm colors because it's still Leo season, and I'm trying to hold on to the flames and warmth of summer.
Oh. And I'm Reg. I am based in Columbus. I am a DJ, an artist, a curator, a writer, all the things. I joined the Within Digital team in 2022. I mainly help out on the back end in terms of the editing and the website, but today I'm showing my face. And importantly, today I really like reading fiction. I like listening to mixes, and importantly, I like the fact that I'm a Scorpio. So that's kind of the things I am encompassing in this conversation.
Scorpio, supremacy, and power. Yeah, so I guess we kind of already talked about it a little bit, but how are y'all entering the respite today? Like, what's top of mind?
Top of mind. Today I'm feeling pretty okay. I was driving in some bad weather, but I'm arriving in the respite more clear-minded and willing for some sort of digital connection.
I love that. Yeah, I'm entering the respite very, I feel like, imaginative. I spent some time with babies this morning, and I felt like I was able to kind of like shed some of the, adult barrier that is, or the adult armor that, I walk with in everyday life, and just kind of like shed it away and be in that imaginative, creative, playful space. So that's where my mind is at today.
I'm entering the respite with the spirit of gratitude. I spent the weekend with my parents and I had fun. And now I'm back in Cleveland and I'm in the respite with y'all and I like y'all and I am excited to gab. So
The gift of gab.
yeah, I'm enthused.
Enthusiastic.
Period.
Okay. Let's talk about the Midwest.
Oh, the Midwest? Who is she?
Who is she to you? Like, what does the Midwest, what role does she play in your work, in your vibe, in your labor? Let's chat.
Ooh, okay. I think for me, in terms of the Midwest and who she is and who she encompasses and how she controls my life, is I've always been here. I was born here. And a lot of my work is rooted in the Midwest. I have thrown parties, run a radio station, curate, curated some exhibitions, and kind of like involving in the space of like this environment. And I think the Midwest is kind of both this like, I don't know, place where it's like nothing is happening, but also everything's happening at the same time. It's like this weird, like atemporal portal where it's just that you can meet someone, you're like, okay, this person's random, and then 4 years later, it's like they become your best friend. So it's like this weird portal where anything can happen, and even if it's the smallest thing you're not thinking about, it'll come back to you. So it's like both a big city, but also a small town. But that's also because I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So the Midwest will always have a place in my heart. So, and in my work. What about you, Candace, or you, Brie?
I think for me, I had to leave the Midwest to really appreciate the Midwest, kind of what you were saying about being like born and raised. And I think um, for most of my life, I felt like I was, just like running against the ground of the Midwest. Like the Midwest wanted me to be one way, and I was like pushing against and going the other way. Um, but I think now living on a more coastal, eastern part of the U.S., I really can appreciate what the almost like, not that the Midwest is a blank canvas, but that, like you were saying, there's so much, because nothing is happening and everything is happening in ways, there's so much like freedom in that sense to not have anything necessarily be applied to you, so that you can like have space to think and grow and be imaginative in ways that you might not in places that have such like a, I don't know, strong like culture and identity that is shaping every interaction and your identity. So I think that's what I think about a lot. And I think for me, like my mom's side of the family is from Youngstown, but my dad's side of the family is from North Carolina. And I grew up in Cleveland, but both my parents, were transplants to Cleveland. And so I think um, that experience also left me with just like different thoughts about what the Midwest is versus what I grew up with. And so I don't know how to really like wrap that into something, but I think all that's to say that, yeah, the Midwest is, now I see a place for alchemy and imagination. And yeah, it just opens up so many possibilities that you might not have on the coast. So.
That's fact. She's the true big lotta.
She's thick.
She's she's
Play
everywhere.
thick by Beyonce.
Yeah, like I feel like the Midwest is this place, this culmination of like so many ideas. Like there's been so much industry here. There's been so much like labor and like what's the word? Migration uh,
Mm-hmm.
to and from that like kind of makes us like the I don't want to say melting pot because that's like tacky, but like
Yeah.
he's a big lotto, dude.
She's biracial.
She's biracial.
He's the moment.
But
Um,
I also agree, like with the music, but especially also the culture and the music, funk,
yeah,
especially, and a lot of these, and techno, a lot of, and house music came from the Midwest, not specifically Ohio, but I mean, funk music, different story. But a lot of musical type of inspirations and art took place and is taking place and is inspired by the Midwest too.
her.
So true.
What a moment. Yeah, she eats the Midwest.
And I think also about like pace of life is what I think allows the Midwest to be that portal space to like, or yeah, like when you aren't like constantly being like bombarded by noise and sound. Like, if I guess it depends, like if you live in the city versus live in a rural area. But I think overall the pace of the Midwest is like so much slower, and that also I think breeds a different type of creativity that is like, I don't know, allows your mind to wander and explore possibilities that you might not get in other places. There's just like a different type of creativity. So that's something I really
Yeah, I think at this kind of like pace of creation, like I think a lot of the world is kind of like moving towards like an urgent pace of creation. And in the Midwest, you kind of have to think intentional about what you're creating. And especially whether that's like art or like something that like involves the public or like music, it's just, I feel if you're not thinking intentionally or if you're just like not connected to the community, people are not going to show up. And it's not, and people don't care what they see on the screens or on TV. It's really about, oh, does, like, do they know that person or do I know that person? So am I going to go out there? Yes, no, maybe so. And that's kind of like boils it down to like actual relationships and authenticity. I think that a lot of people kind of cap on the Midwest and says like it's so hard to do anything here. Like yes, it is because people want genuine authenticity and people. We don't want it just like random corporations, which they're moving into the Midwest now because it's cheap. And it's just like, I don't know, this kind of like weird, it goes back to what you're saying, Candace, in terms of pacing and kind of like what kind of like moments in your life can that pacing can accommodate to that, you know?
Yeah. I was kind of, wait, did I cut you off? I was thinking about this when I was at home, like the Midwest, and just because, like, I was thinking mostly because I'm from like a smaller town, but like the Midwest generally has given me a lot of space and time to like linger. Like, that is very, like, the yearning isn't something that I feel like happens a lot on the coast because I feel like there are a lot of like mean methods of like connecting with people very quickly. Like growing up, I wouldn't I feel like I wouldn't see people until like certain quarters of like time just because of how spaced out and how like inaccessible things were. It was like damn, like I was really like in that whole yearning, like in my parents' house, just like ruminating and like processing things in ways that I don't think I would have had I had like public transportation or just things that are yeah, like the West is really a portal. Someone said time suspension is very different here. Like that's legit.
Yes,
We're
exactly.
a vacuum of like time and thought. It's weird. It's very different than things
Mm-hmm.
you experience like other places. You know.
And how that connects to the digital and what we're trying to like be a part of. I think the digital like space is like that type of place is a portal with its own time constraints, and the Midwest is kind of like outside of this like commodification of time, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, not to overuse the word liminal, but you know, um, the Midwest is like, yeah, the liminal space. I love that.
Cool. And talking about this idea of like space and portals and kind of work, it's kind of like thinking about the archive and especially the Black archive in the Midwest. And what does that mean to the digital respite as an important part? And this kind of like deep dive of like what does archiving mean and how that plays into like respite and Black respite and our like own experiences and connections to an archive, whether that's our own work or even the work of like our family or even the work of where we're living. And I think for like to me to go through that, like my family, a lot of them are from Mansfield, Ohio. So there's like a couple of generations of people that have been in Mansfield, Ohio for a minute. And seeing that type of archive in terms of, oh, we go down to the library and that old building used to be where my grandpa used to DJ, or go down to the park and they're having the annual basketball game they always have every year. And my brother and my cousins playing that. And kind of like thinking about like these stories and these histories that are kind of tied to like mundane and regular things, and you don't really recognize that you miss it until it becomes an abandoned building or they stop doing this thing. And especially in smaller towns where like histories and archives exist through these like small acts of like love and community and sometimes stories, is just like once that stop happening, those resources don't exist anymore. And so it's like this very interesting thing about like archive being an actual living presence of a thing, and how in the Midwest it's not as like this object means that this thing was important. Rather, it's embodied by the people and by the place.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, I think what you said about it being embodied by the people and like passing down those stories is really important. I think that with this platform and what we're doing with like these conversations, I think that that is like really the main, like one of the main focuses is that like these stories, these interviews, these conversations are allowing us to like archive the present moment in ways that are more nuanced than history books could ever, in history as like one thing could ever capture. And I think like the Black archive TM like at large, the inclusion of so many different Black lives and perspectives is just really important, I think, to like future generations and our our present reality too, because I think with all that the internet has given us in terms of connection and just like information sharing, I think we still, because of the algorithm, because of all these different things, we still fall into these silos of like one stream of thought or one perspective being shown. And I think just like the importance of capturing Black life in so many different intersections and complexities, and particularly with the Midwest as like a place that maybe recorded history in certain ways wasn't as prominent. I think it's just like important to me, at least to now, and to us as a platform to make sure we're doing that with artists and just like Black creatives and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like the archive as this very fluid and ever growing thing has got to exist for people that don't necessarily have I don't know what I'm trying to say. Archives are important. We need just real nigga archives for people who just like work at BP and want to know like why things make them feel how they feel. Like I think archives need to exist beyond like language and like super educated white supremacist thought, maybe
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Think about like um oral traditions and just like the power of like storytelling and just thinking about the things that I have learned personally from like members of my family that didn't like go to college. And I think that this platform exists kind of in that realm. Like we're literally just niggas talking about cute art on the goddamn Instagram. Like we're just chatting. But like those things and those feelings like connect to people like rings beyond the internet. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think like what you're saying too is like I don't know. I think like when did passing down stories become like not a thing anymore? Like when did like people not want to like this kind of like idea of like passing down, like people don't feel like, I think like the idea of passing down and creating like breaking generational curses, like those things are both valid. I think sometimes, mainly I think because of the internet, we kind of like lose nuance in terms of like it's always like do this or do that instead of like it's a both kind of thing. It's both like carrying down what has been before and then also kind of like releasing and creating a new.
Mm. That's interesting. Like archives really don't have to be like binary. Like
Mm-hmm.
they they really can exist as like objective things. I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I have my archive and then I pass it down to my family, I know for a fact I'm gonna make a really cute like scrapbook. It'd be so cute and like look at my life and look at all the things I did. It'd be really cute. I'm like, I know for a fact I'm gonna make that. So it's like also thinking about like how are you gonna make your own archive when you get older and stuff. I'm like, I know for a fact that I'm gonna do that. Both like a physical and digital version, just because I don't know what technology is gonna exist by the time I'm 80. Um, but it's like I don't know, that excites me, like telling my own story. So I feel like sometimes people just feel like their stories don't matter too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of is like hella alluring though. Like that's something that we have that like generations before us like didn't get to do. So I think that like kind of recording is important, you know.
And yeah, I think about like sometimes like I was with my grandparents last Sunday, and I wanted to do like the forehead selfie thing with them because my grandpa's really tall. But I was like, oh, I don't know, and I didn't do it, but I kind of regret not doing it because how silly and funny would that be to be like, future descendant, like look at your ancestors doing this thing that, was a cultural trend and like how they're participating in it in this like intergenerational dialogue that's happening. And I think that's just like what I think about a lot too, is just that um, ways that like I benefit so much from reading, anthologies or art books, or I just got this really cool book. Um, and it's like Langston Hughes and some art dealer dude, Carl Van something, but it's like their letters recorded over a 40-year period, and like it's all in this little book. And I'm like, I just love, reading old letters, or, looking at old interviews on YouTube of like Black leaders or creatives or writers and things like that. And I love the idea of like you were saying, Reg, like the personal archives that you can pass down. Is like, okay, are my grandchildren going to read my silly notes, my self-loathing notes on my phone? Like, am I going to archive my phone in some way? And yeah, I just think that concept of, you know, archiving to pass down, but also, you know, making sure
Yeah,
that the archive is as wide as possible.
sure. And I also think for me too is like, you know, especially as you like lose people you love due to like death and everything, I think the archive is really important. And I didn't realize how like important digital archives were until like I lost somebody. And in a way that's just like, oh, I had all the emails we ever sent together. I have all our text messages. I have all their mixes. I have all these images and videos. Like that is so important. And I think like, especially as generations come like after us, they're going to be really clinging to that digital archive because and how we archive with each other, like, oh, we should send emails to each other more, not just text messages. We should take screenshots when we're talking to each other, or kind of like building out this thing where like on our Instagram it is less branded content and more personal, because it's just like once like someone is not there uploading anything, it's just gonna like exist as this like floating nebula of data that like people who like love you will only have access to. And they're like, man, like I wish that they would upload one more thing, or they're downloading all the content and they're like, I'm so glad like this thing exists. So I think like our archive's gonna look very different than like previous times, but also like at the same time, like how do you like kind of like building, like I think it's like how things are being built out. But I agree, like listening on YouTube and hearing interviews and stuff. But yeah, that's what I think about too.
We love
We do love the archive.
True, we're some smarty pants.
So we're kind of just talking about that. You were just talking about social media, Reg, and how like the difference between branded and personal content. And I think that actually really ties in well to the next question about, as artists, Black artists, how does the internet help or hinder your practice, or like what ways do you see the internet's impact negatively or positively affecting your work? Or, you know, you could talk about at large, like Black artists at large.
That's a topic.
Yeah. I feel like I was talking about this earlier in the week, and I feel like the internet hinders my practice because it's hard to see, like, I feel like I've curated a vibe, you know, I've curated my perfect timeline, but that makes it difficult for me to see like contrasts in that. And I feel like that can be stifling when it comes to like means creativity. Like I feel like I feel like the words are beating me today. Um Creating things that are original and different can be difficult when you're seeing a lot of things that you like because you're not being contested. Um but also like those things can also be hella intimidating, and it may feel like you need to replicate things to get to that gratification that internet interactions can give you. And sometimes that's not like honest, and sometimes that's more about being liked by people that you don't know, or like being gratification rather than like expressing truths. I feel like a lot of my personal practice as an artist aspires to be like truthful because I feel like art exists as an archive of who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm feeling. But sometimes when I'm seeking out gratification from strangers on the internet, I make things that are just like aesthetic or like not necessarily reflective of who I am at the time or what I'm doing. And that's give sometimes, but like it's not honest. And honesty is the shit I'm into. On wig.
On wig fleek slang.
On fleek the wig.
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of agree with social media hindering my practice in terms, especially as a curator or as a DJ. When I talk about curator, kind of like digital like content, when I say curator, I mean like art, like exhibition institutional curator. It's kind of hard because you see like, oh, this person curating this exhibition inside of an institution and this person getting this job inside of an institution, and it like kind of like I have to always step back and think like, what kind of role do I want in the world, and what kind of like position do I want, even if it's inside of an institution, or do I want my work outside of an institution? And when you have work outside of an institution, your work may not get the same recognition, and you may be unknown for your entire life. And that's something like a lot of Black artists, especially the ones that are now celebrated, that happened to them. So it's like these really, I feel like they feel more intense because of social media and this kind of like guys that like and support that like people within institutions do have. And it's, I feel like, I don't know, like if I continue down this route, I'm like, oh, I definitely like would feel secure in this kind of role, and I would feel celebrated, and I would feel really good. But I don't know how likely it is because of like how competitive and like how the art world is. Um, but I also think at the end of the day, I also continue to be a curator, no matter if it's outside of institution or inside of an institution. But for DJing, for social media, I feel like you literally have to like, number one, look sexy. Number two, push this like agenda. Like you're always having a show, you're always doing something, and it burns you out on social media. It's just like that's not who I am. Like I like reading fiction, watching anime, playing video games. I like randomly like, I don't know, watch YouTube videos for an hour, but you can't encompass that within like DJ Instagram, if that makes sense. And it's like always having to like making sure like you promote your show, or if you're throwing your own show, it's just so much labor to do on social media. And I get tired of social media, like tired of promoting things on social media. So then I like ask everyone what ice cream they would buy if they stole $1 from their mom,
I love that.
because I get tired and I don't want to have to promote things anymore, and I want to just like have fun and kind of like have weird conversations. But I feel like I can't really do that, and I'm still trying to figure out the perfect way to curate my content to be more like able to do that. But I don't think it will be, just because of like I'm DJing a lot and I have to promote those shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I and also as well, like there's parasocial relationships I think two people have of me, that they don't necessarily really know me, but I am a nice person. But and that too, I kind of like feel like I have to be weirdly private, but I also want to be open. So there's this weird dance and like this like mental gymnastics that I'm like trying not to do.
Y'all are just great. Very true.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like when you just said that, I was like, we've been talking about this for the past like 10 million years. But the private versus public persona thing. And I think that is probably just like Scorpio energy, but it's also very real. I think, wait, what'd you say?
I said that is real, but it's like interesting how y'all be like
It's like a public, but then we're like, oh no, never mind.
no.
I'm not public. You can't see me.
Hate the real me.
Yeah, this is so
Interesting. But I was thinking while you were talking, Reg, like the internet is really an institution.
mm.
Like, like the internet, like this free space, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. But like, it's still an institution. Like things are still curated, and things are still like intended, intended to be sold with that. Like, it's more conceptual than like stores and things like that. But a lot of these apps and a lot of these like places that exist on the internet, or these portals of communication, exist like to sell things. Like Instagram is made so we like are sold these images about idealized lifestyles and things like that. And it's hard to like detach from that. Like, yes, I think we're doing it well with this platform. But like they still want us to buy shit and like think that what we have, who we are, like isn't enough, when sometimes it's really just like, oh, like no, like I really just need to ground myself and be like myself in this.
Yeah, and think independently outside of like what you're seeing on your screen. And that's what I've been doing for like the past couple months, because like I don't know, this is big fast fashion conversation on Twitter, but I'm like, damn, I haven't bought clothes in a long time. And not because I'm like I don't like fast fashion, it's because number one, I'm saving that money, and number two, I'm just thinking about like, why do I want to do things? And if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. But if I want to do something, I'm like, why? And if I can answer that, then I'm going to do it. I think that like I don't think a lot of people don't think independently enough. And I think digital media literacy is so important, but it's not being taught at all, and it's not being like spoken about. And the ways that like digital literacy can make us like buy something, or we misread an ad, or it's clickbait or misinformation, and that's because we're not being taught like how to read internet language, or like how the internet can be read. But yeah, that's my last thing, so Candace can get in on the convo.
No, you're good. I mean, this is like, the bread and butter of my life. But yeah, I think, what I heard, like, first, what you both said was that the internet has basically, um, in taking so many things online, has, led you into this corner of like being consumed by other people's content, be insecure about your own work and how it measures up, and C, leaning into this performative nature of, making sure that you're, an appearance of some kind of momentum in your life that may or may not actually exist, but it's all, through curation. Like, you feel like you have to curate yourself so much and curate your output of your work, and it affects the actual creation of the work, because you're so focused on these things that are byproducts of the internet and social media platforms and things like that. And I think one thing to like parse out is that like the internet and social media and the way it's affecting us, like it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. And so like, even, it's not, I think it's hard to be like, oh, like you just have to have the willpower to like fight against getting caught up in, wanting what other people have, or blah, blah, blah. Like the internet is like feeding you like your own worst, desires. And I just think about this like with artists and Black artists in general. It's like, so when something is trendy or cloudy, like that's like, I think that's the biggest issue of today. It's like, because everything has been siloed into branded content, has been siloed in because it's curated, or siloed into advertisements. It's like everything is being created for compulsion. And like you kind of mentioned that earlier, Reg, a little bit, but I just think about this when it comes to, art. We're not like, we know about reproductions and things like that, but like the way that people, I think, create art, it's not art, it's content. Like that's where a lot of the struggle comes in. And I think like it's nice to be flattered, but like when people are just like recreating things because it's trendy, or because editors at fashion magazines are going to pick you up if you exploit your trauma, or like you say that this thing is about this but it's actually not, but you're just doing it because it has the aesthetic appeal of like, I'm just thinking about like 2016 with the flower crowns and like Black people, like I don't know, that's like a whole, maybe that should be a whole episode, but like
Oh
black
gosh, the
men,
flower crowns.
beards, flowers, the Black people are flowers movement, like the origins of that were amazing, they were great, but like the way that was run into the ground because it gained traction via Twitter, via I think we like, I mean, this is like a conversation I think people have gotten into, obviously this is not new, but like the way media, which is like run by advertisement, like, or is funded by advertisement, affects what is being highlighted. And I think by then, by proxy, like what Black artists are going to create to get publicity, and then that will be funded, like it's just that circular loop. And so all that to say, I think the intentionality and like taking like to reclaim your time apart from the internet is really, it takes a lot of one, reflection, but also just like to I guess, I don't know, the word discipline feels wrong, but like you really have to fight. Like you have to fight for your, and this is something that I've been like on for a while, but like you have to fight for your attention. And I think just like Black artists who want to have like independent thoughts, or independent, not independent, but like we're all interdependent on each other, but like to not fall trapped to what social media is telling you to output, or what editors at these magazines, or even curators sometimes, like if you're playing to like what kind of art you think that somebody's going to like to get you into a gallery space, or get you into so-and-so art magazine. Like it takes, I don't know, it just takes a lot of resistance. So that's my spiel. That's what I'm working on writing wise. But I'm very passionate about this because I hate content. Like I just hate, I play into it. It's like I hate when I can see that somebody's work is like not authentic to them, but it's just a reproduction and is content. So yeah.
I'm trying not to talk about like how everyone in the last 2 years have been taking fake Deanna Lawson ass
Oh,
pictures
yeah. The
and
reproduction of an original to get the non is actually it's like the desire of money and this kind of concept of like not even outside of money but like what kind of affirmation are you getting, like, you know, that's why I'm like the why question is so important, like why are you doing
why are you
this,
doing this?
why
But
are you doing
I
this?
think I remember this interview with like Terrence Nance and Carrie Mae Weems where she's like, what is your like what what are you doing? Why is that different than what anyone else is doing? And that's like why you keep, was that Carrie Mae Weems? I think so. Yeah, she was just like, what is your shit? Cracked up because like, what do you mean? And I was like, oh yeah, like his work is extremely different than anything that I've ever seen, and that's why it's important. It's
Yeah,
not
and
like
it goes back to like the value of your experience and your perspective. I think a lot of people kind of they also don't get the opportunity to speak about their experience or their perspectives until they get on social media and see that like by reproducing something you'll get affirmed. That's kind of like what you're taught, and there's not really public spaces anymore such as young or youth kind of like programs that allow people to express themselves through art outside of like the mainstream of social media that allows for this kind of like affirmed way of making. So I think it's kind of like this kind of weird like way model education model people are learning from, and then also just like there's not enough like spaces when we're younger that people feel good to express themselves. Like I know for myself, I didn't really have spaces or like had access to art or anything, and my first access was Tumblr.
mm,
And, you know, as someone who became Tumblr famous on accident, I was just like exposed to a lot of things and this kind of like whole like social media game. But and then at the end of the day, it's like, is this what I really want to do or do I really want to do something else? So it's just like at the end of the day, and a lot of people who get to be big on social media, that's why sometimes people leave because it's like doesn't translate well into real life. Like, what do you really want to do for your life? And again, going about what's your shit. So it's like, if you can't really answer that, it's like hard to continue down that route. Or like, it's fine to also change, but as long as you know yourself and like know what you're about, I think that's why I'm also really tied to music, because musicians and people who make music or DJs or producers, they're really like, I'm about this thing. And you can tell who really is and really isn't. Um, and even the people who isn't and they get like stuff now, like 5 years later, 10 years later, when things are not hot, you can see them shift and change because it's not about that. Like it's just about making the thing because you're passionate about it. Okay,
mm-hmm.
that's me. Leo
That's
Rising jumped out today. So
that's so Reg, because the pandering can get ugly.
Oof.
It gets sticky.
You know how sticky it gets. I was literally just thinking
no,
that.
okay. That
No,
was good. It was like the layup into the basket. That was nice.
ball is life. Ball been life. Okay, so my brothers in Christ, fellas, museums, thoughts. What role do museums play today? Why is it important for Black people to be in positions to curate?
Well, as someone working in that field and in an institution and all these things, I think it's really important because I went to a conference, a museum conference, and a lot of people are behind. Like, a lot of people are behind. And it just seems like most of the time, the Black people are the ones like able to look around themselves and be aware of like what kind of exhibitions and exhibits should should be needed. I think a lot of museums kind of went away from like the storytelling of where they're at and kind of fallen into the entertainment, like kind of like the entertainment industry of like quote unquote the art world. Like, oh, we have exhibitions, because to cross off and like look good on eFlux or Art Forum, and this provides this idea of entertainment versus a communal act of either like the art, like what the community is actually about, or like offering something in return. I feel like with COVID, there is not a lot of spaces happening anymore, and there's not a lot of access to resources. So I feel like museums and libraries are doing the thing in terms of like, here's free internet, here's a place to read your book here, especially the Columbus Public Library, a great system. But in terms of the museum system, it's just, I feel like a lot of museums have fallen away from being a public space and into being more of an entertainment space, which is cool. But the problem is kind of like this moral ground. A lot of museums are unable to like dictate if they want to be like morally right, because a lot of them, when they were started, were very immoral and stealing objects ran by people who should not be running anything because they're a part of like war corporations, etc., etc. So it's just kind of like this kind of complex thing where it's just like, I think museums can't be moral because the whole concept, the whole thing started off not as a moral thing. So, and since it can't be that way, like what kind of shifts can kind of like reparations can exist inside such a space. And I feel like Black people, especially in like these positions, are provide like kind of are aware of like the way like the world is changing. And I think a lot of white people are kind of like thinking about like the present and how the world is versus like what the world will be. And I think it's just such a mess, and that's why a lot of Black people are not safe in museum, and that's why a lot of them, once they get the positions in a year, they leave because they get stressed out. The pay is not that great, the benefits is not that great. So why not work at something like Vice, or like work somewhere where it's like like in the corporate world instead, where it's just like you kind of like have to have like sometimes these like direct conversations because you're dealing with more of the direct work. I feel like the non-profit aspect, it's like goes through grants and like a lot of passive aggressive kind of like movements, but it's meshy. But I think it's kind of worth the meshiness because you don't know what's going to happen like after you like fall out with a friend, but you tell them, you confront them about their stuff and they're listening and they want to get better, and it seems like they're getting better, and then it's like, and then the friendship becomes stronger because y'all kind of like fixed each other through the mess. That's some museums. Some museums, though, you gotta leave that friend behind. So,
Yeah.
we'll see in 10, 15 years because a lot of them may not survive because of like recession and everything.
Man,
That was a spiel, but
I'm thinking the institutions.
and does art even need to be connected to an institution to survive?
I was reading Candace's comment. But no, art has, we've talked about this before. Like, art has existed before museums. Art's going to exist after museums. Museums museums are like intended to educate and like bring people together. And I really like that you said that they are leaning towards like this realm of like entertainment and like becoming industrialized places, because that's facts. But also, I have to remember that like that is really what they were brought up into, like hella voyeuristic niggas just looking at things because they're exotic, air quotes, and like different, but like that's hella exploitive. So of course it'll revert back to like some exploitive ass shit. That's wild. That's wild.
That's wild. Yeah, I think I don't know. I really like this conversation because um, what should be like your like basically both of you are saying, what should be a place where people can be exposed to art, where their minds can be stimulated and they can like come and learn and play and craft and experience, and just exist. Like we need beauty to exist in the world, and like you know, the world is full of it in nature, but there's something I think special about seeing, you know, tangible life translated into a piece of artwork, and seeing yourself within that. And I think that for me, that's what museums have always, not always, but like have been a place where I could see, where I could imagine myself like creating something because I saw something, and then you know, that sparked other ideas. And I remember like when I was like 8, I my art teacher signed me up for a class at the Cleveland Museum of Art to make paper, and that experience really transformed me, you know, because I was exposed to something I would never have done on my own. Like I'm not going outside and taking paper and grinding it up and being like, oh, I'm gonna make more paper from this, you know. But just the, I think, importance of that, and particularly like for like Black people to be in positions to curate, like I, you know, I guess there probably weren't really many, like, if any, Black like art galleries that I went to when I was a kid. But you know, I recently took my family to go see the New Black Vanguard at the CMA, and that, you know, my mom kept saying like, this just feels so familiar, this just feels so familiar. And you know, I have a, well, she's 15-year-old sister, and she's an artist, and like, you know, she was seeing all these young Black artists. My, you know, my parents would be reading the little things and be like, oh, they're like not that old, they're young. And so I think, just again, we were, you know, we were kind of talking earlier about intergenerational, but like I just think when like Black artists or Black people are able to like curate spaces that are familiar and resonant, like, and are also like, they can like affect people intergenerationally. Like I think what you were saying, Reg, about like Black people thinking, you know, outside of themselves into the future and not just like the here and now. I felt that when I saw that exhibit, and I feel that when I see art books of like Black artists or Black art. It's just that familiarity, that not
I saw the
representation
Virgil
matters.
Abloh show, so not to cut you off, but
Which,
like when you're talking about art books, it's like I have the Virgil Abloh like
oh
book,
yeah,
and it's just like talking about, like you said, talking about exhibitions and like art books when you see a Black artist doing something, you're like, why does it feel familiar?
Yeah, I was resisting saying representation matters, but we're just gonna say it. Ooh, like a little the new phrase.
Yeah, I think the slippery slope of representation, I think it's like intention over impact. It's like the why question. It's like, do you just want Black artists in the space just for Black artists, or do you want Black artists in the space and you're bringing, again, like from the show you were saying, like you're bringing newer artists who have never been in the space and you're providing this context for the community. Like there's like, I think the why, I think we've gotten away from like answering why questions because they're hard to answer. And I think that's going to be really important as especially museum spaces grow, or like times change and museums are forced to grow, because that grant money is not going to be the same under this next election period, and they have to think about other models to reflect their budgets to ensure that they can exist. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of like ways, and also the ways that like I feel like other models of museums are gonna like pop up in our worlds. A lot of people are creating their own museums, and a lot of like smaller places are like kind of like coming together in that way, and I think that's beautiful. And I think the art world is trying to latch on of like what was important like 50 years ago, but that 50 years ago is not what it's going to be in 50 years from now.
Yeah, that's real. That's facts.
And but yeah, going from 50 years from now, I wonder if anyone in the sphere of watching us have any questions. Just because we're a little bit over 4 o'clock, so we're gonna be hopping off here soon. So if you have any questions,
Thoughts?
or comments, and we can read some of the comments that have been coming in before we like wrap up.
We could also pose for a thumbnail at this point too.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Pose.
wait, filter or no filter?
Oh, okay. Let's do one no filter, and then let's do
Okay.
a filter one. All right, let me.
They look cute.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then what should the filter be?
Oh, what kind of filter do I want?
Let's see what we got popping today. Ooh, I like that one, Reg. Ooh,
Oh,
Leo season.
That's truly a Leo.
Period. Wait, Brie, are you baby Jesus again?
Baby Jesus, baby Shrek. Let's see. Oh, this one's cute.
I want.
I have that
What
one.
Shrek are you? Oh, this one's really cute.
Some of these. Oh, wait. You know how I'm coming.
Oh yes. Okay, I think I'm gonna do the fire.
But we must stay
I'm
focused.
doing this fisheye one.
Ooh. Okay, any questions?
Questions? Question?
Questions,
We should
comments,
answer them like this.
Okay.
infrared.
I like the minion one. Okay. Questions. Okay, I'm gonna ask a question until
Okay.
the question, because I saw it in our little doc. Who's your dream within digital guest?
Did you say what are our dreams or what was it?
Dream within digital guest.
Oh, my dream within digital guest. So my dream for within. So I'll say one Midwest and then one curated talk. So one Midwest person I really want to talk to is which this is hard. Maybe I just want to just talk to my grandma. No one really big except for my grandma. But for the curated talk, I really mess with this artist, Aria Dean. She writes some. She used to write more about digital memes and blackness, and right now she is a minimalist sculptor, and she really comes at works very conceptually, and I've been like looking at her work since like 2019 or 2018, so it's been a minute. So I would love to have a conversation with her, and she also went to Oberlin, so which is so funny.
Ohio.
Obi.
Everyone is from Ohio, not from, but like has connections to Ohio.
Ohio is connected.
Okay, let me think. Brie, you go. I have to think.
Oh my god, the corn one.
We literally are so funny.
My Midwest connection, ideal guest. I don't want to say honey but directly. Wait. Okay.
I know I was gonna say that, but I literally saw him yesterday, so like I will see him again. So
I would like to talk to Kia. I think Kia's really cool.
He's from the Midwest.
He is from Chicago.
Hey.
So Kia, what's up? And then my Midwest connection. No. Okay, is DC the Midwest?
no,
Okay.
not at all.
My curated combo would be a Kelela Returns album release party. I just think we have range. Whenever she's ready to return, she'll return through within. I mean, I'm putting it in the air.
Oh my god.
Also, I want to jump in. One person I do want to talk to for Midwest Connection is Dr. Alexander Wahili. He is, I think, like mixed race, and he lives in Chicago. He writes a lot about music and theory and blackness, and he seems really cool.
Love that.
And he teaches at like University of Chicago.
That's hard.
Would like to talk to, for curated combos, I would like to dream guest Tyler Mitchell.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
The King. And then For Midwest connection, this one is a little harder. But I'm gonna go with our old pal. Well, Brie and I's pal, Jermaine Jackson Jr.
Oh, absolutely.
I
The dog.
think that there is a brain on that man that could hop into the respite and boop, 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 boop.
The doll.
The doll.
The doll. What kind of doll would he be? Photo doll?
Photo
Line
J line art doll.
art
One
doll.
art.
I also think a talk with Big Lotta will be funny because
That would be kind of interesting. There's a lot of like musicians and DJs I feel like we'll have a great conversation with. It would be sexy.
yeah.
You know, actually, okay, I'm gonna add one for Midwest Connection. I think talking to Denez Smith would be amazing because they are
Oh,
from
yeah.
Minnesota. So
I didn't know that. I didn't know they're from Minnesota.
yeah, Midwest doll.
I would love to talk to them as well.
That's hot. Anybody else have a question? I have a lot of questions since we're gabbing.
That's hot.
That's hot. Oh,
Hot pocket.
Wink, wink.
where is Cheryl Dumier from?
Florida. I don't know.
Probably though. Ew. No disrespect, Floridians.
Alrighty, shall
You-
we wrap up?
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, thank y'all so much for joining us today. We're just going to plug a few things before we hop out of the respite. Thank you for hopping in. So one, please subscribe to our newsletter. We'll have a newsletter for you this month within digital.substack.com. So check it out. We have 2 past ones, so you can go look at memes. We curate links for you, curate links for your wellness, for your eyes, your ears, your heart, your mind, your soul. So please read our newsletters. They are full of love.
Wait, how do you wait?
Are you trying to do the...
I'm trying to do that heart thing with the thumbs.
Oh, you got it.
I think my fingers are too close. Oh yeah, that.
Oh, that's cute. I can see that. Wow. I can't do that, but it looks really cute.
My dream within digital guest is Jocelyn Hernandez.
Do it like it's your B-day. What's next?
Oh,
Go read Bree's article.
read my.
Brain goo. And we're going to have a new blog, hopefully before September. And that's going to be really good too. That's going to be written by Candace.
And you're gonna read it, and you're gonna like it.
Yeah, defining the digital respite, coming soon.
And again, also you can stay connected by going to our Instagram, follow wink wink, and go to our link tree where we have our website, YouTube, all that jazz, all that stuff.
You can check out withindigital.net and our playlist Into the Respite on Spotify. If you haven't, that would beat my ass. Wow.
And that's going to be updated next week. So we're going to have a really end of summer cute playlist. Maybe you'll hear Lotto on it. Maybe you hear the new Meg. Maybe you hear Beyonce. Maybe you'll hear some producers from Detroit and Chicago and other places. You don't know.
Who's to say?
Who's there? What if we put some
What would you do? What would you do if we did that?
But go listen to our playlist though. That's really fire. JK.
In her podcast. And yeah.
We got it. So check out all those things, y'all. Thank you so much again for joining us this afternoon. Have a great evening and have a great week.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Yeah.